Hello, everybody. So I'm so happy you're here. It's been a while, and I've missed you. So this feels like a really important episode for me. It feels like a transition, it feels like a release. And as of now, the working title and the theme that came to me for this episode is The Purge. The Purge of 2025. This year has been challenging for a lot of people, and whenever we're faced with challenges, there's always a different perspective that we can take when we look at these challenges and see them as opportunities to grow. And although it's tough when you're in it, when you look back, there's always lessons to learn from what you went through and what you experienced. And for me, I wasn't sure how I wanted to organize this episode or when it would come out or what I would talk about. And it's more of a stream of consciousness. And that's what a purge represents. And for me, it's almost like before taking this next step into 2026, into whatever lies ahead on my path, it's almost like you need this release, you need this purge to just kind of shake off from where you've been before moving into a higher expression. And that's very much the energy of this episode for me. It feels like a closure. It feels like I'm closing the door, and it feels really good. It may seem like this podcast episode is kind of all over the place, but it's organized chaos. And my goal is that I'm going to share a bit of my 2025, my takeaways, and hopefully it resonates with you. Hopefully it inspires you in some way and you can connect with me and you can transition into a higher expression of yourself as well. I want to first share off kind of a summary of where I've been and how my year unfolded. And I would like you to reach out if you have any questions and if you related in some way to this episode. And then the second half of this, I want to share some of my takeaways and what this year has taught me as I move forward. I do want to kind of leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger because, like I said, it feels very much like a transitional space. I'm recording this almost before the beginning of 2026. And for me, intuitively, it feels really important that I get it out while in 2025 because I want to just kind of purge everything and just leave it in this year, even though I don't believe it's like a hard stop once you start 2026 or the next year. But I think energetically, I just want to leave it here. But first, before you manifest or you bring anything in, you want to release. You want to purge up everything else. And then there's always beauty, as I've said, within the mistakes and the frustration and the hard times. So it's just kind of going through this release, the shedding of the skin, which was this year. It was the Chinese year of the snake. So it's all about kind of this like shedding process and release and purge before you can move into that higher expression and this higher vibration of the next step of your journey. And that's what this is about. So I wanted to share that as an intro. It might seem like I'm kind of all over the place with this episode, but I hope you can just stick with it. And like I said, my whole purpose is to release this information, to shed my skin. And I hope that you can relate in some way, and that you can shed your own skin and take some of this information and relate to it in your own life. My year felt different energetically the first half versus the second half of the year. I would say the first half collectively, there was a lot going on in 2025. So as you guys know, I live in Los Angeles. There were the fires within the first couple weeks that ravaged LA, the Pacific Palisades, Altadena. It was definitely an intense start to the year. I know a few friends who were personally affected and lost everything. So that was really a jolt into 2025. I know the political climate was really tough and intense for a lot of people. I know a lot of close people in my life have been personally affected, and it just seemed like the energy overall was really intense the first half of the year. It seemed that it heightened in the summertime. I could feel it in my body, and I just want to remind you guys sometimes, like, I will talk about self-regulating when it comes to my daily practice and meditation and these different things that kind of keep you in your disciplined state. And I wasn't really doing much of that this year. I had kind of fallen off. I was still going to the gym, but that was about it. I had this long list of things that I wanted to achieve that I put on my vision board and my calendar, and I set up to really set myself up for success this year. And I'll just start off by saying, like, I didn't get most of it done. And that's not saying it in a negative tone, but it's just the realistic fact that it just didn't happen this year. And that goes into one of my key takeaways, which I'll later explain. But I will say that I'm very grateful for a lot of memories in the first half of the year. I was very fortunate enough to travel to a lot of cool places. I went on like a road trip with my dad. I went to Coachella. I got to spend more time with my parents. I went to Michigan, Arizona, New Mexico. Like, I went to all of these really cool places that I'm so fortunate of. And they're definitely the highlights of this year for me. And transitioning into the summertime, I had a great time in South Carolina. I was in Hilton Head. I came back to LA and just kind of trying to get into my routine. A lot of this year was trying to get into my daily practice and my routine. And I woke up one day in late July and I had this eye infection, and I basically just woke up and my left eye was tight. It was like swollen tight. It felt like it was a knot in my face. I felt it before I even looked in the mirror. And when I did, I couldn't believe what I saw. So, a long story short, I ended up going to see multiple eye doctors who had believed that it was a sty. I was told to just add a warm compress. Originally, the doctor said that it could be an allergic reaction, so I took Zyrtec. That didn't do anything. They had given me an antibiotic that I was on, and then they extended it, so I was on it for 10 days in total. That didn't really do anything to clear it up, and then I was put on a steroid for 4 days additionally. So it slowly started to fade, but I felt like there was something in my body that just told me that it wasn't completely gone. There was still redness around my eye, and I noticed as August approached, and in the early weeks of August, I had felt more lethargic, more tired. I noticed my workouts at the gym were less intense. I had less stamina. I was out of breath quicker, just felt weaker. And I also had an intolerance to alcohol. If I would have like one or two drinks, a beer, a glass of wine, I would feel really sick or really hungover the next day and not know why. So as this progressed, I was still curious as to why I was feeling a little bit off, and I went to a friend's birthday party in early September. And on the second day of this birthday party, it was in the desert. On the second day, I had gotten significantly hungover. Like, it was one of the worst hangovers of my life, and I didn't know why. Because yes, I did drink, but it was nothing crazy. So when I got home, I just had this like really intense moment the next day, like this hangover. It felt like my energy broke. I know that's a weird way to put it, but it just felt like energetically like something shifted inside of me. And I had started to struggle with brain fog after this. It felt like a part of my brain wasn't wiring correctly, like a part of it was grayed out. It felt like it was there physically, but it was almost like a disconnect between my brain and my body. Like it wasn't firing correctly. So for 2 weeks, I struggled with this, and I was kind of in a totally different place energetically. Like I was really in fight or flight. I didn't know what was going on. I had seen my primary doctor, I had gone to multiple other doctors just trying to figure out what it was. I went to the urgent care multiple times. I wanted to get tested for everything just to see what was going on, especially the brain doctor, the neurologist, because that's what was affecting me the most, in addition to me still feeling fatigued. And I had a couple other weird side effects. Like I noticed that like my stomach felt a little bit off. I had began to lose weight because I wasn't eating as much. My doctor had originally said that it was most likely anxiety because he took a bunch of blood work and everything came back normal. I know myself, and usually like my mental health is pretty in check when it comes to like regulating like my meditation and being able to kind of test when I'm feeling off. Like I said, I used to work at a meditation studio, and although I haven't been making it a part of my practice, I can always turn to it when I feel like I need it. But I think that there was slight anxiety just surrounding not knowing why I was feeling so off. So as the weeks continued, I tried to fight for more testing. I wanted to see some specialists that can really dig in to see what was going on. So I was trying to see a neurologist. I was trying to see an infectious disease doctor because it felt like my body was still fighting something off. Like I was getting these like little pimples under my eyes, which I never had before. It felt like the eye infection never fully went away. I was having these episodes that I would call them. Basically, all these sensations would happen to my body at once, and I didn't know what would cause it. It felt like what could have been a seizure almost. Basically, I still knew where I was, but I would have this like doom or gloom feeling come over me, almost adjacent to like a panic attack is what I would assume it would be most like. And I would need to get fresh air. I would walk outside. I would get super cold or super hot, and I would smell something that wasn't there, and then my brain fog like kind of rushed. But this would stay with me for like multiple days after. So it's not like a quick 20, 30 minute, 10-minute thing as if it was a normal seizure, but this was like something that had stuck with me for multiple days, and it kind of just threw me off balance for a week. And this went on a few times throughout September and eventually October. I was looking to see other doctors in the time and just see how else I can figure out what is going on. I just wanted to roll out everything. So at this point, I was aware of something called like Chagas or the kissing bug disease that I saw on Google. And mind you, I tried to limit my Google searches because I didn't want to make myself crazy. But like I got tested for that. That was negative. I got tested for Lyme disease. That was negative. Luckily, my building manager was able to test my unit for mold because confusion, brain fog, a lot of that fatigue are signs of mold exposure. That was negative. I thought it could be celiac disease. That was negative. So I was slowly ruling out all of these things, but I just didn't know where to turn because my doctor, my primary doctor, really just turned it around onto my mental health just because a lot of my blood work and tests that I ran were coming back normal. I did get a therapist for the first time, just because I figured since I was really struggling with just how I was feeling and not feeling understood and not having any answers, that she might be able to help navigate this landscape, which she did. She's awesome. I was meeting her virtually once a week, starting end of September, early October, as I was still really pushing just for more testing to see what else I can check to see it was. These episodes, like I said, would kind of pop up here and there, but it made it difficult to really just carry on with my normal life. So I felt like I couldn't show up 100% at work. I felt like I wasn't able to really do much besides the bare minimum of like going to the grocery store, and I like went to sleep early every night, and I slept a lot, and there were some nights to where I didn't sleep at all, and it was very overwhelming. There were times I just wanted to like go to the emergency room or urgent care and I just wasn't getting any answers. So I was really open to any sort of doctor at this time. I saw two different primary doctors. I saw originally the optometrist. I saw two different ophthalmologists. I saw my dermatologist for like a skin weird thing that I was having under the eyes at the time. I was fighting to see a neurologist and an infectious disease doctor, any specialist really, a gastroenterologist. I was really pushing my primary doctors for referrals, which I did get, but then with some of them I was denied access because none of the blood work that I was having was showing that there was any indication of problems. So I was continuing my therapy sessions. I also expanded to more of Chinese medicine. So I went to 3 different acupuncture sessions, which really helped when it came to like my nervous system. I know that wasn't the root of the issues, but it did help me a little bit because I was so much in fight or flight, not knowing what was going on, that it did help to calm me down a little bit, and it gave me more patience as I was trying to figure it out. I went to 2 different psychics. Both were actually great. I'm going to list some of the information of the psychics and intuitives that I saw in the bio just to give reference to them. Shout out to them. Thank you, along with the medical professionals. But thank you guys, because it really helped me. Although the psychics didn't pinpoint exactly what the problem was, they really helped to ease my mind. The first one had said that it was basically something regarding an infection or something still in my system that I had been fighting. There were a couple other like accurate details that she picked up on, and then the second psychic had mentioned that there were these 2 like balls, which at the time I didn't understand what she was saying, and that she did reassure me that I would be okay, that there were certain practices I needed to do to help manifest like the doctor to figure out what was going on, that they could see clearer. And she gave me a lot of like tips and different things that I can do that eventually really did help me. So thank you to both psychics. I also drove down to Laguna Hills, where I saw this energy worker, and she really worked on like mind-body connection, but I could feel it within my muscles. Like it was almost this massage with fascial release as she was working on my chakras. So it was a wonderful experience. I'll link her information below. I would like to try it again now that I'm feeling so much better, and just see what other benefits that I can receive from it. Like I said, all of these, including the acupuncture and the intuitive sessions, they've all really given me something that helped me along the way. Although they didn't pinpoint the exact answer, it really was beneficial to my overall mental health and well-being. So I'm thankful for all of this. And as you guys can see, I was really exhausting all of my options. I was knocking down every door for any chance to really figure out what was going on. And although, like I said, a lot of these people didn't have the exact answer, they provided some sort of support and helped me along my way. I believe every single person, every appointment I went to helped me, even if it was a small amount. I had seen a rheumatologist. I had seen a neurologist. Thankfully, one of the weeks in September, I was really feeling off. I went to the emergency room and they did an MRI. They came back negative, or normal, I should say, thankfully. And then I had seen a neurologist in October, and they had done a second MRI with contrast, which is a little bit more detailed. And based off of the symptoms that I was describing to her of my episodes that I was having, she thought that they could be related to some sort of seizure, which at the time it really didn't deeply resonate with me that that's what was happening. I didn't rule it out completely, and it was scary to hear, but a part of me just said that it wasn't a full-blown seizure. I just had similar symptoms. So that was something that I was worried about at the time. I had lined up a couple other tests with them, but luckily I wasn't put on any medication. I know in September when I saw my primary doctor, when he had recommended that I see a therapist, he had prescribed me like an anti-anxiety medication, which all I'll say is that it is super helpful for people, and there's no shame in taking any sort of medication. Everyone's different, everyone's bodies and minds are different, so I think there's definitely a need, but I just knew that at this point that's not what I wanted for myself. I did take it a couple times, but it's not something that I wanted to just take because I knew that that wasn't the root of the problem that I was having. So it was difficult when doctors kind of just wanted to prescribe me medication when I knew that I just needed answers versus just medication. So that was tough, and I think that that is where the therapist came in to really just help navigate my thoughts and to remind me that it's like it wasn't just in my head, that my physical symptoms were actually real, and to just know that I wasn't crazy, because that was such a big part of the struggle, was just this battle, this internal battle between like my physical symptoms and nothing showing up on paper, but knowing that something's off, that I'm just not feeling right. And there were a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights that I like didn't know what to do, that I was like calling my parents or like leaning into close friends, and I would just sleep over their houses sometimes because I just didn't want to be alone. The next big appointment that I had was for the gastroenterologist for a colonoscopy. Originally it was scheduled in late January, since specialists sometimes, it could take months to get in. But thankfully I was on a cancellation list and I had the procedure in early December. I will say that that's where the problem was. They had done the procedure and that they had found that there was a fungal infection in my upper esophagus. So this explains everything. This told me that's where the brain fog was coming from. This is where the fatigue was coming from. They believe that this fungal infection was caused by the antibiotics that I was on in late July, early August, and whether it was like with my body chemistry or the fact that I was on a steroid right after or something. It just I believe originated at that point when I was on these antibiotics to treat this eye infection, this sty. So this was finally the breakthrough that I needed. I was so happy and so relieved to just find out that this is what it was. But it's just insane to know that it took this long. I had tallied it up, and over the last approximately 5 months, it was about 152 days, I had gone to 49 different appointments. And that was including different therapy sessions, acupuncture, intuitive healings, my psychics, primary care visits, optometrist, ophthalmologist, dermatologist, neurologist, infectious disease, gastroenterologist, some urgent care and ER visits, a rheumatologist, and a dentist appointment. So I just literally rolled off all of these appointments and doctors and energy healers and people that I've worked with. And it was a crazy last few months. So with that said, the amount of relief that I found when I finally just had an answer that really verified how I was feeling these last 5 months. So that goes without saying that I really didn't put much effort into my podcast, into my past life hypnosis work, into studying things that I'm really passionate about, different paranormal tours or investigations, things like that. I was really just checked out. I was pretty much living in fight or flight throughout the last half of the year. but also it taught me a lot that I'm taking away. It feels now that I'm finally through the other end of it and I'm looking back and I'm looking at it from a higher perspective, I am feeling so relieved, but also I feel like I've learned and have grown and developed. And I feel like I'm in a rebirth period. So it's very empowering. And now I just wanted to share some of the lessons that I'm leaving 2025 with, some things that I'm releasing. And like I said, I kind of want to leave this on a cliffhanger going into the next year, just being open to all possibility and opportunity. But I do want to just touch on some of the takeaways. These came to me pretty organically over the last 5-6 months when I was struggling and when I was not feeling so great, in their lessons that I've learned and the ways that they've come to me. I've kind of written them down just to explore these thoughts a little bit deeper. And how I want to share them is basically how I'm choosing to look at them. And they are illusions that I would like to release and leave in 2025. And they can pertain to everyone in multiple situations. And they are pretty broad, but they can also be as specific as you want them to be. So I choose to let the explanation and the meaning come forward for you and express however it best expressed for you. And it changes over time, even for me. Like, that's why I like to write these things down and just kind of sit with them a while and see how they develop and how it changes. The way that it resonates with me changes over time. So there's no particular order. I'm going to start with the first one. And it's basically the illusion of control. So this is one that I would connect with the last 5 months because I felt like I didn't have any control over what I was going through. I had to surrender to the circumstances. I had to surrender to my illnesses and the things that my side effects, all of the health problems that I was dealing with. I had to surrender to that. So I just felt out of control because I knew my true self and I was very much not that throughout this period. And I felt helpless. And in surrendering this control, there was power in that. There's the one quote that says, "Man makes plans and God laughs." And that really resonated with me during this time because it's like you can plan anything, whether it's like your next month, your next year, what you want to do, how you want to share your life with someone, have kids, do this, do that, your job, career, anything. And nothing is promised, not even tomorrow. So releasing this expectation, releasing this control is actually really liberating because it takes all of this weight off your shoulders. If you look at it like that, it takes all of this stress away. And that's not to say that you can't plan things out. I'm a huge planner. I'm a Libra, but the first day away from Virgo, and I have a Taurus rising. So I love the earth energy. I love planning. I love list making, but you also can't be tied to this. You can't be married to an expectation or just having control of certain situations. There were other situations, not even health related, that I wanted to control throughout the last 6 months to a year. Certain things that I wanted to work out a certain way that I would say, oh, if I do this or have this conversation, that this would happen. And it just doesn't work like that. And I notice sometimes the harder that I try, the more it falls apart. It's almost like things should have aligned and they were on track to align. Everything was perfect. It was lined up, but it just was not going to happen no matter how much effort I put in, no matter how hard I tried. And I'm sure you can think of some situations within your life that this resonates deeply as well. So this was a lesson that I really had to learn. And like I said, I had never really struggled physically like I had the last 5 months. So when you take away your overall well-being and feeling well and knowing that there was something wrong, it really just kind of like stripped you in a way. And there was power in releasing control because you just have to surrender. And you can apply this to many different areas, but that is one of the standout illusions that I would like to release this year, and one of the highlights, a gift actually, if we choose to look at it like that. But it is a gift, that it is something that I've learned this past year and something that I want to carry with me. So that was the first one. The second illusion is the illusion of forever. This one of all of the illusions is the most melancholy. It comes with a tone of sadness, but it also comes with a tone of liberation and freedom and really just making the most of every moment. So the energy behind this is that life is short. Anything can and will happen. I've noticed that this past year that my best, most notable moments were being fully present, fully open, and in spontaneous situations. It was very serendipitous moments to where I was with friends, I was with family, I was with loved ones, and I was just doing something. It could be a simple act. It could be a morning walk, or just really just being fully present in the moment. And this illusion of forever is something that we, at least myself, tend to focus on sometimes. We're worrying about things that in the grand scheme of our however many years we live don't really matter. It's these simple moments that really are the foundation for our life and what we will remember. I believe one day when we have our life review and we're looking back at our life, this is really like the standout moments. And just coming to terms that we are going to die is very overwhelming, but it is liberating, because then it has you focus on making the most of every moment, taking that picture, staying up all night, going out, even if you feel tired. Like, I'll sacrifice being tired for a few hours the next day if I had an amazing night with people. Or there's so many different situations of really just saying yes and living in the moment. And this is something that I stand by, and I want to constantly have this outlook on life that I know that I'm not going to live forever, at least in this lifetime. And I want to make the most of every single moment. And that's something that I'm very proud of, because it's something that I've always kind of carried with me, but I want to continue to do that. And I wanted to share this as a reminder for myself and for you listening that it's true. Just live like that. You know, it's liberating. It's wonderful, actually. So the third illusion is the illusion of permission. This one kind of snuck up on me more recently, and I don't exactly know where it came from. I can't pinpoint it. But it was one morning I woke up, and it was almost like I kind of had to like snap myself out of it. This feeling that I needed to ask permission to do something or to live some certain kind of way. And I don't know where this feeling came from. I don't know if it was like something more like when I was in school, when I had like teachers, university, like when you're kind of planning out your next steps, and while you're studying and you're figuring out like where you want to go next, what you want to do career wise. And I was just kind of transported back to that time of like needing to ask permission. But even then, you know, I was still in control of my life. Obviously, my parents had a huge pull, and I greatly still appreciate their opinions with things. But just this liberating feeling of reminding myself that I don't need anyone's permission to do something or to live some kind of way. There's been this dream that I've had ever since I lived in Paris when I was 2012. I don't want to even count the years, but I always told myself that I would live in Paris again. And it's not that I consciously knew I needed permission because I didn't. But the years had passed by, and it's almost like this knock at the door saying, you made this promise to yourself this amount of time ago, and why haven't you acted upon it? And I don't know if it was an excuse that I made for myself subconsciously, saying, oh, I need permission. But guess what? For anything, I don't need permission, and you don't either. So this is a very inspiring reminder that we can do whatever we want to do at any time. Also, I believe under this umbrella of permission, I want to include patience and discipline. So with your ability to do anything at any time, everything comes back to being patient and to being disciplined, creating some sort of plan and creating these action items that you can use with your own permission to do whatever you want to do. And focusing on these daily habits, you can build long-lasting results to achieve whatever you want to achieve. You may not have your answers or your results overnight. Most likely you won't. But just hone in on the end goal and enjoy the journey. The fourth illusion is the illusion of self-doubt. So this one is something that also I believe my subconscious will fire on at times. It's like a switch. It'll turn on and I'll have this self-doubt that I don't even realize is self-doubt, but it's just the way that my operating system is. So this is something that I'm really consciously trying to work with. But tying this back to my last 5-6 months with how I was feeling, I knew deep in my gut that there was something wrong, that I wasn't myself. Something was off. And I had my intuitive sense telling me that. My gut literally was telling me. And I knew that, but I just needed to deeply trust my intuition even more. I was in my head at some points just because the doctor was saying that it could be anxiety, it could be my nervous system, which it was a combination of things. But at the end of the day, you know yourself better than anyone else. Lead with intention and trust your intuition with your health, with your relationships, with your journey, with your entire world. You just have to trust yourself. And it's not easy. It takes practice. I'm practicing because, like I said, these last 5-6 months, I've been struggling, but it's always worth it. So just do it. Let's do this together. And then the last illusion, which this one's actually my favorite. I don't even have as much to say about this. It's pretty straightforward, and I want you to interpret it as what speaks to you. But this is the illusion of ego. And for this, I just want to highlight that it's so important to live life in awe and with a beginner's mind. There may be things that you're good at, that you feel skilled in, but it's so important to just show up sometimes with a beginner's mind. You can soak in so much more information and experience from other people just by not having an ego, by being humble. You'll find so much wonder all around you because we're all different. We all have different expressions of how we do things, of how we express ourselves. And you can learn so much by just listening and observing. And that's something that I really pride myself on also. Obviously, there's things that I definitely still need to work on, but I love seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. I love constantly being in awe. There are times every day that I am just blown away by the beauty that's around me, by leaning into gratitude of everything that I'm a part of, that is so much greater than me. I love being humble, and I want to continue to be humble, and I want to just live in a place of awe all the time. There's so much wonder all around us. We just have to take a moment to sink into it and to observe it and to notice it and to just be with it. And that's really where the beauty lies. So thank you for listening. Like I said, these are my 5 illusions that I wanted to focus on releasing into 2025 and continuing to work with in the new year. I want to embody these as we head into 2026 and use them to really soak up the most of this life. Now, I'm curious what you resonated with, anything that you would like to release, if there's any additional illusions or things that you would like to use to help you transition into this new year. I really wanted to share my story with these last 5-6 months, but I didn't know how, and I felt uncomfortable with sharing it first, especially when I didn't know what was going on, even up until like a week ago. So I'm doing this in the safest way that I feel comfortable releasing this, but it's important for me to put it out there because, like I said, it's like a release. It's like a shedding of these last 5-6 months, and I'm excited for next steps. So like I said, feel like this is a closure of one door and an opening of another door. I want to segue into a different expression of this podcast, so I'm really excited to see what that entails in the coming months. So I definitely will be back. I'm feeling 100% myself again, which is amazing as we step into this new year. And thank you for listening. You've been such a vital part of my journey, and I'd love to hear what resonated with you. I want to hear about what you're releasing this year, what you're inviting in, and it really means a lot. And I know some of you guys have reached out and we've connected over it, and it really is the reason why I do this. So thank you again so much, and I will see you all very soon, and happy 2026.